Now I'd like to turn to the reading. We'll get on with the business of the book. I'm going to read just a very brief passage that covers the period shortly after, just to give you a bit of context. Frank was born in Hungary, as you know, and as a young man joined the army and then joined the revolution. And it happened in 1956, and then once the Soviets came roaring in and squashed the rebellion, he, along with tens of thousands of others, fled. Guelph was lucky to be at the receiving end of that. He lived with his uncle on a farm just in Arras outside Guelph for a few months, and then got a job at W.C. Wood and lived in a boarding house on Alora Street, just a couple of blocks from GCBI. So that sort of tells you where this particular section picks up in the book. As the fall of 1957 grew brisker and winter approached, Frank owned no warm coat. Julia McCansky, the woman who rented him his room, asked Peggy McGarry, a neighbor who lived around the corner on Clinton Street, if her husband Jack, who was about the same size as Frank, had an overcoat he no longer needed that he could give to the young man. Indeed, McGarry did. It was a stylish gray velour model with buttons on the front and a half belt at the back that he'd bought in Detroit. The coat not only kept Frank warm that winter, it became a running motif in his relationship with the McGarrys. In 1964, Dennis Mooney, purchasing manager at Alice Chalmers, makers of forklift trucks in Guelph, introduced the two men who were both waiting to pitch Mooney about their respective lines of business. Asked McGarry, "Don't you remember me?" Frank gave him a puzzled look. "I gave you my overcoat." Thus prompted, Frank never again forgot the favor. In later years, the McGarrys attended the weddings of Frank's two daughters, Nancy and Linda, and the father of the bride mentioned the coat in his speeches on both occasions. By the time the McGarrys gave a party to celebrate their own 25th wedding anniversary, Frank had by then been married to his wife, Margaret, for nearly as long, and she presented the McGarrys with a tiny gray coat, no bigger than her hand, that she had made. There was a note attached saying that she had washed the original garment and it had shrunk. The coat came to symbolize Guelph's embrace of this immigrant who'd fled communism in a foreign land. For his part, Frank worked hard to assimilate, learning English from the time of his arrival. He was good at languages. He grew up speaking both Hungarian and German, and had made significant progress in Italian while living briefly in Pisa. In Guelph, Frank wrote down new English words when he heard them as a way of remembering, and always carried a dictionary to look up anything he didn't understand. He also attended English language classes at John F. Ross Collegiate on the other side of the city. In addition to the 2-hour sessions several nights a week, he bought a set of self-help vinyl records that he continually played in his room. The back and forth repetition between the recorded voice and Frank's attempts to mimic the phrases was so clearly audible in his next-door neighbor, through Margaret Furlong, that she felt as if she were an integral part of the learning process. At one point, she rolled her eyes and told Peggy McGarry, "If that guy doesn't soon learn English, I don't know what I'm going to do. All he does all day long is play English records."